Call this meeting of the Canmore Planning Commission to order. My name is Jeff Roberts. I'm the chair for today's meeting. If we could just start going from my left to right and for the record, announcing which of the members are here today. So Eric, I'll start with you.
Eric Young.
Darlene Pernack.
Garney Baker.
Jeff Hillstead.
Alyssa English.
Florian Youngen.
And staff.
Sarah Jones, Recording Secretary.
Robin Denage, Communications Manager.
Okay, thank you. First order of business would be adopting the agenda as issued. If there's no changes or deletions or additions to that, could I have a motion to? So moved by Garney. All those in favor? Carried. Second item in the agenda is approval of the minutes from the June 26th, 2019 meeting. My assumption is that everyone had a chance to review those and read them and provide any comments if there was anything incorrect. If no changes or additions, deletions, could I have a motion to approve those? Okay, thanks, Eric. All those in favor? Thank you. Next item is development permit, DP 2018-050.
Hello, my name is Camila Ramos-Strankman, and I will be presenting application DP 2018-050. I'm going to be following this outline today. I'm going to do a quick introduction of the site, the proposal, discuss the compliance with the land use bylaw and the 3 proposed variances, and then we'll be open to questions at the end of the presentation. The subject site is located at 900 Railway Avenue. This site is partially developed with an existing retail food store, Nutters, and a retail store Home Hardware at the front of the site. Adjacent to the site are a variety of uses and features, including municipal road right-of-way and a multi-use pathway and trail to the north, Save-On Foods and RBC to the west, the Provincial Building and Elevation Place over to the east, and the Drake and the intersection of Railway Avenue and Main Street to the south. The application consists of a new building being constructed at the rear of the site. The proposed building will be 2 stories, and the application includes the creation of new parking stalls, bike stalls, improvements to the pedestrian paths and connections, as well as new landscaping. I'll get to variances in just another minute, but I just want to be clear that there are no changes proposed to the existing building at the front of the site. The subject site is located within the General Commercial District. The purpose of this district is to allow for a combination of commercial residential activities in mixed-use buildings. The purpose statement also speaks to having a good pedestrian flow and a high standard of appearance and landscaping. In terms of uses, the main floor is proposed to be a retail food store, and the second floor is proposed to have 4 units of employee housing. Employee housing is a permitted use in this district, while a retail food store is listed as a discretionary use. Although discretionary, the proposed retail food store is considered by administration to meet the intent of the district. The use fits in with the surrounding uses and is located within close proximity to the town center, allowing this future retail food store to provide services to both residents and visitors. Development in the GD district is required to be a mixed use and have a minimum of the 25% of the gross floor area be used as a residential component. The proposed employee housing amounts to 34% of this building, thus meeting this requirement. As well, all other employee housing specific regulations as set out in the GD district have been adhered to, providing full compliance with the regulations of the land use bylaw in this respect. The application has received an SSR score of 93.68. This is an outstanding score for this type of development. However, the majority of the positive score derives from proposing so many bedrooms of employee housing and offering a percentage of the employee housing units to their own employees. The employee housing aspects of the development amount for 89.22% of the application, or sorry, 89.22 points, not percent, And so this leaves the application at a positive 4.46 points from other aspects of the development. And these come from its location in the town, increasing the commercial assessment, using local construction, and a variety of other features. As mentioned, this district's purpose statement mentions having a high standard of appearance with regards to landscaping. It is in the opinion of administration that landscaping is meeting this requirement, as well as all other specific landscaping requirements as described in the land use bylaw. The application is proposing to exceed the number of required trees and shrubs, and the placement of the landscaping serves to screen mechanical equipment and also work alongside the raised pedestrian crosswalk. The town's fire smart regulations are also being met, and the percentage of the site being composed of landscaping is also being met. The land use bylaw regulates development intensity for lots within the GD district through a minimum and a maximum floor area ratio requirement. The requirement for this lot is to have an FAR between 0.6 and 0.2. This development, if approved, will increase the FAR from 0.19 to 0.37. This is closer to, but not fully in compliance with the requirements of the district, and therefore a variance is required. Administration believes that there are no other constraints preventing the application from designing a building that meets the FAR requirements. However, the application has indicated that the additional floor space is of no value to the intended use of the site, and there is a direct correlation between employee housing units and the social community benefit, particularly when the need for this form of housing has been identified within the community. Moving on to the next variance. The architectural regulations of the land use bylaw require that all buildings incorporate a cascade of roofs in order to break up the massing and add visual interest. It's in the opinion of administration that the roof form does not meet this requirement. There is one roof line with 5 dormers, and the dormers are evenly spaced throughout the building. There's no great change in appearance or design, and thus not contributing to a cascading roof form. The land use bylaw does give examples of what a cascading roof form would look like. Administration believes that the inability for the proposed development to meet this requirement is a result of the developer choosing to have a smaller building than required, which thus makes having this cascading roof form very difficult. However, the architectural form and design is generally consistent with the intended outcomes of the requirements set out in Section 12 and has little impact on the overall streetscape along Railway Avenue, given its location to the subject site. Therefore, administration is supportive of this variance. The development is proposing 68 parking stalls, which is in excess of what the land use bylaw requires. This requires a variance to the land use bylaw, which discourages parking in excess of the minimum parking requirements by 10% or more. The proposed 68 stalls are a 13% variance to the minimum parking requirement, and the applicant has provided no other rationale to support this variance request. The proposed development is required to provide 1 loading stall, which has been satisfied, and this loading space is in addition to the existing loading for the existing building. A total of 12 bicycle stalls are required, and the development has proposed 44 bicycle stalls, 26 outdoor and 18 indoor. And of the 18 stalls indoor, 8 are going to be reserved for residents, and the other 10 are for employees of the retail food store. And so the parking variance and the cascading roof form appear to be minor in nature. Although the FAR variance is quite high, the applicant has requested that we consider the addition of employee housing as a rationale to support this variance. And the municipal development plan gives guidance for applications that include employee housing. And specifically, it states that private initiatives to create additional seasonal and permanent employee housing should be supported by the town. So the addition of employee housing is considered an extremely positive impact on the community, as demonstrated through the significant SSR score. Therefore, in light of a portion of the provided gross floor area being proposed for employee housing, and therefore also contributing to the total FAR, administration supports the variances that are requested by this application. And so, in summary, administration is supportive of application DP 2018-050 and recommends that the application be approved subject to the conditions that have been provided for as part of the application package. CPC may approve the application approve with revised conditions, or refuse the application, stating reasons for refusal. And I'll now be able to hopefully answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Open the questions at the board. I'll start on my right, Florian.
Okay, a couple questions. Is it true that most developments are trying to push the upper end of the FAR requirement?
I would say that most developments that would be comparable are usually requesting a variance to height, not necessarily FAR.
Okay.
This particular requirement in the land use bylaw is a bit newer for this district, and there hasn't been a lot of other development in this scope in the district that it has been a concern before.
Because if there was a consistent, if this was a consistent sort of application where the minimum FAR is not being met, there would be a negative impact on the town because decreasing density and more sprawl. Is that correct? But this is more of an exception where most developments are trying to build out more rather than less.
Yes.
So the impact here is minor in terms of density.
Yes, it would be opposite to what we would require. And it's not necessarily density, it's as that would be number of units per the area, but it is the FAR, so just the built form,
Right.
where the land use bylaw does indicate that something larger or bigger should be in this district.
Yep. Okay. Employee housing units don't necessarily have to house employees from this development. They could be from other businesses.
So they could be from other businesses, according to the definition of the land use bylaw, and what was indicated in the SSR is that a portion of the employees working in the business would be provide housing in the upstairs.
Okay. So the only real restriction to an employee housing unit is you can't be from out of town and buy it and use it as a vacation home, basically.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't meet the definition of an employee. So it could be for the employee and their families.
Yeah. So basically, you just have to be employed in Canmore somewhere to
I
live
believe it
there.
says the Bow Valley in the definition.
Okay, Bow Valley, okay. What is the definition of a cascading roof line?
Hi. So there is no clear definition of a cascading roof line. It's just an interpretation of the architectural guidelines. If you look at the images here up on the screen, what we're trying to achieve is a variation in roof form. So for what you've seen with this development is a relatively consistent roof line all across the top. What we're looking for, ideally, would be a cascade, so a variation in the shape of the roof form as it goes across the top peak, and also, with the form of dormers introduced as well. So we're getting various roof angles, various roof articulation. And so that's what is meant with the intent behind that, but there's no clear definition as to what that is.
So the main thing would be a broken eave line? Is that what you're looking for?
Essentially, yeah.
Because when I look at the renderings, I'm sort of wondering, like, what more are you looking for, basically?
Right, so this guy here, geez. So if you can see my mouse, yeah. So I'll bring this over here. So if you look at the mouse up on the screen, you can see kind of this flat roof line above the top. That's where we would be looking to kind of see the cascade or the variation in roof form. They have, made some attempts here with the dormers, which is trying to meet the intent, but if you're looking at it from the ARC guidelines, it would be seeking more.
Okay, so just a comment personally, if you look at the building in 3D, some of the 3D images, I find it very well articulated and probably goes beyond what I would consider like a minimum standard for architectural articulation. I guess that's just a personal statement.
Okay.
That's it, Florian?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I'll switch to my left. Eric?
No questions.
Great. Back to Alyssa.
I'll remember to use my microphone. I'm just looking at the floor plan, so it is, am I correct that it's 3 2-bedroom units and 1 3-bedroom unit? Is that, what are we?
Yes, 3 2-bedroom units and 1 3-bedroom unit.
Okay, so these aren't
Yes.
like 4 1-bedroom studios, they're quite, do we have like a rough square footage on? Because sometimes staff housing means like a bed and a toaster, and sometimes staff housing means somewhere like legit people could live.
Yeah, so here's what it's proposed. So you can see this for the areas of all those, and then just move. And so you can see that they are fairly spacious, all involving at least 1 bathroom and a kitchen and then a living area for each of the units.
Okay. And sorry, those are zoned as need to reside, Bow Valley resident only units?
So anything that meets the definition of employee, so working a certain number of hours in the town center,
So that,
or
like,
sorry, within
20
the Bow
hours in
Valley.
the Bow Valley, I think is
Mhm.
that definition?
Yeah, and then it
Okay.
also extends to their families.
Cool. And then the only other question is, has anybody done the parking to size ratio? Like if they made that building as big as you want it to be, are they then going to have enough parking? Like if we made the building bigger, is there still enough room for enough parking? Parking's our favorite topic.
It would depend on the way that building was added to. For instance, a 3rd story or wouldn't change the amount of space.
Okay.
It would just be raising it up. But then if they were expanding it on the ground level more, potentially, but we don't know what that would look like.
Okay.
They do have the ability to remove a number of parking stalls, so there could be some room to expand the building and still
But
meet
if
their
you made the
parking
building
requirement.
bigger, would you require more than 60 stalls?
It would depend on the use.
Okay. Is there likely if you made it bigger, you would need more parking?
It's a ratio depending on how much more. So if you increase it by a few square meters, like, it's unlikely. But if you exceed it by, I believe it's 40 or more square meters, then maybe an additional parking stall, so.
Okay. And there is, hold on. Is there still access to the back alley?
No.
Okay, because on the rendering it shows access, but when I look at the actual drawings, it looks like the back alley access is gone. Is there or is there a traffic study done on this building?
There's no traffic study done on this building.
Back alley access. All right, that's me.
Great, thanks. Darlene?
Just quickly, you had mentioned that the FAR regulations were new. Can you just clarify when those were adopted and what had triggered that new regulation?
Yeah, they're newer, so they have been available since at least 2010. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff?
My questions have been answered, so I have no more.
Great, well, thank you, Kate. Garni?
Likewise, I've got all my questions answered. Thank you very much.
Great. So I've got a few here. The first one, I think you've answered it, but the Town Center Enhancement Concept Plan, that's what was done and adopted in 2010?
It was
Okay,
earlier than that.
1998.
Yeah.
1998. So the FAR recommendation, so the 1998 Town Center Enhancement Concept Plan, we're significantly different community than we were in 1998. So okay, so, second question deals with, when I look at the parking drawings and the site layout drawings, there appears to be connectivity between the parking in this development and the courthouse. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, so the applicant has worked with our engineering department to make future connections to a new development going over there, a new trail and another surface parking lot. Those have not been confirmed at this time, but the applicant is making the connections there on these plans.
So there could be vehicles that are currently at the courthouse transiting through this site to access the stoplights that are,
No, not through the courthouse. It
Okay.
would be farther up. It's currently a treed site. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay, fair enough.
Actually, at that point in time, you probably could have access to the back alley stipulated in that tree lot.
Right. Okay, connectivity to the courthouse. I noted going through the SSR that there was very little scoring in the way of energy conservation initiatives, given that the town has adopted a climate action plan which looks at a significant number of buildings achieving near net zero energy efficiency standards by 2030. Can you just confirm that this building does not have does not have features which take it towards near net zero?
No, not this building.
Okay. And then finally, we think we've already discussed this offline, but the bedrooms on the second floor in those suites don't have windows, so presumably there will be a sprinkler system installed as part of this, so it complies with the Alberta Building Code, which will be confirmed at the building permit stage.
Yes, development permits are not reviewed for compliance with the Alberta Building Code. It would be a requirement at the building permit stage. And then if those bedrooms were not able to be provided through the Alberta Building Code or for some other reason, it would potentially mean a revision to the development permit, a new development permit, and then returning back to CPC.
Right, so that sustainability rating would actually be a whole lot less because they wouldn't be counted as bedrooms.
Yes, it would.
Okay.
So approximately, depending on the number of bedrooms that are reduced, it could reduce the score to something like this.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. I have no more questions. Any other that have come to mind? No? Are we generally prepared to make a...
We should ask the gallery.
Oh, right. So is there any opponents that wish to possibly speak on this? Proponents that wish to speak? Okay, thank you.
Hello, members of the committee. Thank you for hearing our application today.
If you could just state your name for the record.
Ben Gardner with Gardner Architecture. So this is the new home for Nutters. So it's a very bespoke building for this this tenant. You know, Nutters has been in this location for a long time, so this is a great opportunity for them to move into a new home. It's a little bit bigger than what they have currently. It also presents another opportunity in the future to take another look at what the existing building is. So we're not looking at that building today, but keep in mind that what we do today is designed to keep future opportunities open. So you guys know where the site is. In these photos, you can get a bit of a picture on the left of what the existing structure looks like. It's a single-story commercial structure. It's about 40 years old, cinder block, kind of a false gable roof. It's served the tenant's needs well, but having been built in the late 70s, things may be coming afoot for that portion of the property in the near future. So that is one of the considerations when we're looking at the FAR of the site. We don't want to preclude future development of that existing building. Also, looking at the size of the building, Nutters needs 10,000 square feet. More doesn't match the business plan. So 10,000 square feet plus a second floor of staff housing suits their needs just fine. To add to that program would make this development pro forma more complex and make the project less feasible. In terms of parking and building layout, one of the key considerations to ensure the success of businesses on the site is logistics. They have to be able to get their stuff to the buildings. So we've got two major tenants here. In the proposed building, of course, we've got Nutters, and we have a Home Hardware in the existing building that gets but we just met the owners, but weekly or bi-weekly, they get a pretty serious shipment. So we need to be able to bring 52-foot-long trucks plus what we call B trains. That's two 26-foot-long trailers throughout the site. So we're balancing building size plus site accessibility.
In trouble for this. Can you just point out where the loading zones are for both Home Hardware and, sorry to interrupt, it just helps while we're still
no
on the
problem.
slide.
Yeah, well, it's here. So this is loading for the Nutters right here. So this guy will come in around, and then he will back up here.
Okay.
And the loading area for the hardware store is right along here. So this train will come in here and back up, and it'll drop a trailer here and move on.
Okay, thank you.
The site is not parked to the maximum. We have allowed, removed a couple of stalls to allow for some on-site bicycle parking and make sure that we have that connection through that area. While we're overparked to local standards, we are underparked to general retail standards. Most retailers are looking for 4.5 stalls per 1,000 square foot of area. We're closer to 3.5. It's going to work for these guys. From a landscape perspective, I think Camilla has already covered that. One thing to note, while we're not making any adjustments to the existing building, we are enhancing the connection to Railway Ave. So we are adding a path through here and making sure that, the public can walk through the site in a protected manner. And again, I'm going to reiterate how the potential of this existing building here. We really want to make sure that we have an opportunity to create something amazing at this intersection in the future. So the existing floor plan with enclosed garbage, mechanical services, we're definitely sprinklered. We have a sprinkler tree in the building. Staff bike stalls are on the main floor as well. Second floor, combination of staff housing plus staff showers for those who are biking to work and don't live in the building. Going back to access, we've got the public access to the building through here, of course, and for the staff, they can access the building from one of two back doors. This is the main entry for staff back here, and then we have an exit here. The roof is articulated. We look for clarity of thought when we articulate this roof. We do have a flat area for mechanical and for the benefit of staff living on the second floor.
Is it structurally capable of supporting solar panels someday?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you can get it to approaching a better energy.
Yeah. Going towards in that route, the simple step right now is simply provide electrical conduits to make it power ready. Section through the building so you can see the outdoor amenity and how we work within the roof structure in the dormers. I put these slides up here so I can show you the inspiration behind this design. These are train stations. Simple roof lines, very clear defined dormers, some wood elements. These images have been in our files from day one. This was the source of the inspiration of the design. Thus, you can see some of the elements here. The overhanging eaves, the dormers, and the stone pilasters. We have a great mix of materials here between the wood, the stone, the hardy siding to look like wood, metal roof. And there's the rendering, and as you caught, this is an older rendering, so we don't have this access through to the back. We still have good access through the site, though. And one more shot from the other side. This is the staff entry.
Is that a flush connection to the Save on Foods parking lot? Did I see that there?
Sorry?
Is that a flush connection from your sidewalk to the Save on Foods site? Is that what I see there? In that? Oh,
No,
No,
no.
okay.
If we could pop back to that site plan, we do not have a connection through.
okay.
It was definitely considered when we were doing the design, but that would have been a bit of a complicated negotiation between the owners of that property.
All right.
But we're pretty happy with the connection that we have through the courthouse property. And note the future bike path here as well. Another reason why we have, I shouldn't call it a bike path, that's a mixed-use trail. That's another reason why we have all these bike stalls here and a great connection. Obviously, we didn't come up with this on our own. We had some great input from the engineering department in town. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Melissa?
I just have one. How many of those bedrooms so we have 9 bedrooms total upstairs. Is my math right on that? How many of those do not have a window, out of curiosity? Sorry, I'm gonna make you count.
We've got one here, one here. That's 2, 3, 4. So each suite does have like an internal third bedroom.
Okay.
That's legal by code, as long as there's a window opening up into the living area. So light is brought in, light in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll just throw this question out there and you can answer if you're willing to share, but is the intention with building number 1 to redevelop and meet or exceed the FAR requirements? And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm hesitant to support a development that is below the minimum FAR because I think it's a missed opportunity in optimizing this site given its location and land values in Canmore today.
Currently, we do not have a plan in place to upgrade this existing building or to replace it. There's definitely potential of some upgrades in the short term, but thinking about the long term, this is a very key intersection. It's going to require fantastic development. If we eat up all the FAR with this development, we won't leave a lot in the future.
One more question for you. In providing the parking stalls that you have shown, you had actually made a comment, you said that you had ended up removing a couple to facilitate bicycle parking stalls,
Yes.
so are you still overparked by 8 stalls?
Yes.
Okay. So when you had made the proposal to have the 8 additional stalls, did you consider the walkability of Canmore and just general principles in terms of active transportation modes as well? I mean, I guess my train of thought is that additional parking is correlated with increased traffic.
Absolutely. Working with town administration, we considered walkability through the site and the pedestrian experience very intensely. Thus, we've got the connection, a new pedestrian connection through here, crosswalk, and this raised walk through the site as well. So in terms of affecting the pedestrian experience, having a couple extra stalls is not, or removing stalls will not affect the experience of people walking through the site and to the store. Our primary consideration is to make sure that the business plan of our tenants will work. So they have to be able to serve all customers, whether they're walking, biking, or driving.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Evelyn? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Just as we've been going through this, I have one additional question for staff. The original development permit for this site 40 years ago, what had been contemplated for the back half of that lot, if it's available?
As far as I know, there was no contemplation for the back half of the site of 40 years ago when it was originally developed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Back with that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Are we prepared to, pardon me? do we believe we need to go on camera? Anyone need to? Oh, Jeff? You good? I'm good. Good, good. So I think we're aligned here. Could I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the application as presented.
I second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay. No other business for the Planning Commission at this time. Next scheduled meeting is August 28th, and I believe we have 3 items on the agenda, 3 or 4. It'll be a rather long meeting, or could potentially be a rather long meeting. So could I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, Eric, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
So August 28th?